guys? I'd like to show you a setup that I have with Predator, actually two setups, and it basically depends on what character you're playing against. It's kind of based off the setup that I posted a few weeks ago, where Predator ends a combo with the Smart Disc. And the idea behind it is the Smart Disc is supposed to hit the opponent as they're waking up, absorbing or hitting their armor, and the follow-up that Predator does is actually the punish for them waking up. Now I kind of changed it a little bit. I believe the first one I did ended in I think it was back 2-2 Smart Disc. I want to say it was like 19%, but this one just a little bit better. So it's 20%, and you actually end up closer to the opponent than doing the back 2-2. Now this works against characters that, it actually works against a lot of characters, but the ones that in particular that it works very well on are characters like Sub-Zero and his EX slide, you know, low profiles really well. And it also actually works on Reptile's EX slide. And I know that's the one that everyone's talking about. Like, whenever I talk about my setup with people, they're always asking, well, does it work against Reptile? Does it work against Kung Lao? It does work against all of those. The only thing that this setup does not work on are characters with multiple hits of armor. Now, there's only a few characters that can do this, like Goro and his EX Punch Walk. Ferrator, I believe it's the Grab and Stab in the Ruthless and Vicious variation, also the Gut Ripper in the Vicious variation, and also the EX Charge in Lackey, which I believe Lackey is like the Bane variation because his EX Charge in Lackey it has like insane, it probably has like infinite amount of armor, but it is really good for you know, you can easily whiff punish it, but especially Lackey Ferrator I wouldn't use any setup on just because of the EX Charge. But it also works again, or it also doesn't work against Tanya's Kobu Tanya's EX Rekka, and that's why I took Predator in the lab and came up with this next setup as specifically for Tanya, even though it works against a number of characters. The thing about Tanya, Kobu Tanya in particular, is she has this move here, and everyone has seen it before. The EX Rekka, it's 2 hits of armor, it hits, it's 2 attacks very quickly, and it's also safe on block if she does the second Rekka. Even if she doesn't do the second Rekka, it's still only -8, which, I mean, you have to react to her not doing the second Rekka and then punish, so it's basically safe. And a character that has this type of wake up and this type of mobility is really odd, but nevertheless, the second setup I did is for characters like Tanya and Goro and Ferrator that have multiple hits of armor on their wake up. And it looks like this. Okay. So all I did different was do 4 into low laser as my ender and Smart Disc. Now what that does is that it ends them further away, so it has more time for the Smart Disc to hit, and with this setup you always want to do back 2, just because of the range that it has, and you really don't have enough time to run up and do, you know, 3-2 or 2-1 or, you know, whatever. So that's that setup. Now the con with this setup is that it can be low profiled really easily actually, and also any character whose wake up keeps them in a stationary position. For example, Kenshi, any of Kenshi's spirit moves on wake up, it blows that setup up. But against Kenshi, you would want to use the first setup anyway, just because of that. Any wake up that he does, where the Rising Karma, EX Shoulder, even Possessed EX Teleport, the first setup completely stuffs that. It also doesn't work against Tempest Lau's EX spin. Now I know when a Tempest Lau usually wants to do EX spin when he's being pressured on wake up, or if the character's close to him. But if the Tempest Lau player knows that this happens, then he'll probably try to use it at least once. Now what happens is that when he does EX spin and I go for the back two will completely whiff, but the hitbox of the EX spin will catch Predator in that spin and is full combo punishable. But again, against Tempest Lau, the first setup works just fine. It stuffs all of his wake ups, so I wouldn't use the second setup against Lau or Kenshi. It does not, of course, it doesn't work against Reptile Slide. Reptile Slide advances fast. There's thunder. It advances fast enough that the disc doesn't hit him, and of course, back two being a high, it goes directly underneath the back two. So don't use the second setup against Reptile, Kenshi, or Tempest Lau. Also, Goro's Wake Up Stomp. Now again, that's another move kind of like the EX spin, where they typically want to do it if they're being pressured on their wake up, or if their opponent is really close to them. But if they read that I'm going to do that setup, and I'm actually going to commit and do the back two, they get a free stomp. The disc will hit their armor and they'll keep going, and then I'll be punished. Scorpion's very interesting. His leg takedown doesn't work for the second setup because it low profiles, and it actually does reach. But his EX teleport is really interesting. The disc and the back two doesn't hit Scorpion at all. But if I think that he's going to do an EX teleport on wake up, I can actually do back 2-2. And the way that Predator's hitbox looks when he does that, you see how far he's leaning forward like this? What'll happen is that Scorpion's EX teleport will completely whiff, and I'll have enough time to recover off of this, turn around, and then full combo punish him on whiff. But again, against Scorpion, you want to do the first setup as well. Now, Sub-Zero's EX slide. Now, I already said once that you should use the first setup against Sub-Zero. Every wake up he has, it stuffs it. Even the EX clone. I tested on the EX clone as well. But the second setup against Sub-Zero's EX slide is a little bit interesting, just because there's a certain timing to it, but the second setup can work against his EX slide. Now, it's really hard. I was only able to get it like 2 or 3 times out of 10, but it's a really tight situation. But if you want to play it safe and don't want to risk it, then just go for the first setup. There's no reason really not to. Now, there's 2 characters, one variation of each character that neither of these setups work. Demolition Sonya, her wake up, her bacon wake move. If you try to do either setup, well, if you do the first setup, it'll actually hit you. But if you do the second setup, it'll just whiff, and you basically be back in neutral. I believe that it takes I think it's 2 grenades to do that move. So I don't know if it's worth it to do it, but each setup stuffs all of her other wake ups, her leg grab, her arc kick, it stuffs all of those. Ethereal Melina is the second one. Now, Ethereal Melina is, I don't know, she's really interesting. I'm not sure if she's better than what people are saying she is, but she is really interesting. But against Ethereal Melina, this flat out doesn't work. I know a lot. I don't play a lot of really good Melinas, or that often, I should say. But they really want to get that roll out, like the EX roll on Wake Up, or EX teleport, or just the teleport, I mean. But if the Ethereal Melina knows about this setup and knows that she can do this, if I commit to either setup, she could do her teleport where she ends up behind you. I don't know what I guess it's like teleport forward, I guess. But she has, according to the frame data in the game, she has 1 frame recovery on that. And if I actually commit to either of those setups, she can full combo punish me on whiff. So if you're playing against an Ethereal Melina, especially one that knows about the setups and knows that she can blow it up, just don't go for it. Just do whatever else you need to do to beat her. Okay. Now I'm going to show you, going back to the second setup. Now there's a way that you can there's a way you can end up safe on both of them, but the second one's really good, just because even if they do tech roll, not including characters like Ermac or Scorpion or Displacer Raiden, any character that has a teleport, but a character that doesn't have a teleport and they tech roll. See, this was the big issue with the setup before, is that in the corner, mid-screen, it doesn't matter. The first setup, if they tech roll and then wake up, you're screwed. They get up off the ground too fast, and their armor activates too fast that the disc doesn't have enough time to deploy. After I throw it, it doesn't have enough time to deploy, and they tech roll and then do their wake up, and basically if I committed to it, then I am completely punished. But against this second setup, it ends them back here. Okay, even if they tech roll. Now, like I said, I came up with this setup specifically for Tanya because, there's not much Predator can do against Tanya. He can keep her out, but I have to be really, really on point with Predator zoning to keep her out. And plus, if she does get in, or I should say when she gets in, especially if I'm in the corner, it's good games. He doesn't have really any answer for her pressure outside of godlike reads. Basically the Tanya player has to mess up. She has to mess up and create a hole in her pressure for me to do anything. And even if that is the case, all I have is that. Really. I can do that, but it's better to be -3 than it is -7, 8, or 9. And that's one of the things I'm about to talk about, is that in the game, the close low laser, it says it's -22 on block, and I'm sure everyone knows by now that that's completely incorrect, because that would mean that it's full combo punishable. And I tested it with a couple of people that I trained with, and we guess, we don't have the equipment to get the exact number, but we're figuring it's anywhere between -7 to -9, somewhere within that range. It is safe, but I really have to be careful and pay attention that if it hits or if it's blocked. Because one of the things that HQ10 Predators like to do is this mix-up. 3-2 low laser, or 3 low laser. Mid overhead low, mid low. Now this move here, that's 12 frame startup, right? So that means that if I'm just going ham with these things, just trying to keep it going, try to overwhelm you, if you block it once, you get a completely free poke, and you can jump over, you can grab, or go into your own pressure, whatever. So you have to be really careful with that. But the medium laser, now that one's really interesting as well. Now I can't remember what it says it is. It says that it's -1. That actually I can see. the problem is with this is that, you know, I can, you know, start his, you know, just throwing out lasers, which, if you look at the recovery of it, I mean, or not the recovery, the startup of it, look, just watch Predator. I mean, you see how it is kind of slow looking. You know, I'm not doing it as fast as I can, but just because I'm trying to show you the startup of it. But his low lasers are a little bit faster, and his close laser is really fast, really, really fast. So that's probably his best projectile within, you know, mid-range. The thing about his straight laser, though, is the recovery, especially full screen. You know, it has the times travel across the screen. You know, I can, whoops, you know, I can just keep going straight low, straight low. But anyway, what that whole thing was about is when you do this setup, the safe thing to do is, whoops, let's put her tick roll off, on. Okay, I'm going to show you the setup with just back one, or I mean back two. Okay, so both things did hit her, but she has multiple hits of armor, and it lunges forward really quick. And this is the same case with Goro and his EX punch walk, but I'm just showing Tanya because that's who's on the screen. But if you look at the animation for his low laser, kind of see how he leans back a little bit. Now you're going to use that to your advantage. Whoops. Whoops. If I can get it. Let me cancel it. Oh, too early. I swear it works. Just give me a minute. Okay. You see how he leaned back in that low laser? It caused her Rekka to completely miss, even though it is lunging forward like damn near half screen or whatever. But now you want to do that against at least most characters that you do this on. There is another way you could do this, but it's really risky. Whoops. You could do that and, you know, get your damage that way, but it is risky because if she doesn't wake up and you do this on block, it's full combo punishment, and she gets oki, she gets pressure. It's just a bad idea unless you know for a fact that she is going to do a wake up. So it is always just best just to do low laser. Now, the thing about low laser in this setup is it's safe on block, and it's also plus, it's like 60 something on the hit. I'm trying to get it again so you can see it again. There it is. So on hit, you know, it's plus, let's see what it is exactly. It says plus 65, and the middle one is plus 31. You know, that's plenty of time. You know, you do that, you can jump in, you know, you can come in for pressure, you know, whatever you want to do. But really, the thing about the Tanya matchup in particular is that you want as much distance as you can get. So if it does hit, oh, too far away. Now if it does hit, you want to start walking back, or you want to jump back. You just want to get as much space as you can within that 60, 65 frames. Now if she tech rolls, that's actually a good thing. Now the beautiful thing about this setup is that if she tech rolls, she's hit. Even if she just gets up blocking, I'll be able to do my back two, and she won't be able to punish because the disc will keep her from moving. Now I can do that, and then I can back up and start zoning. And that's where Tanya can have a little bit of trouble in that matchup. Now, her other wake-ups are a little bit different. You know, that's something against Tanya that, me personally, I kind of wish Predator had like a standing reset. Now, I'm not saying he needs that, but it's one of those things. Like, I used to play Scorpion, and against Tanya, that's probably the one thing I miss the most, is being able to end my combo with them standing. Because on Wake Up, you know, she has that move, but she also has her 50-50 on Wake Up. They advance really far, they're really quick, they're armored, and one of them she can get a combo off of if she's at the right range, and the other one, even if either one of them hits, even if she combos or not, she's still right next to Predator, and that's really bad for Predator. So the thing about this setup is that it does work against her flip kick. It does work against her flip kick, but it doesn't work with her drill kick, her low. Now, that is probably the one downside to this setup. That is really bad. But see, the thing about it is that Tanya players will tell you that, you know, why would I use that? You know, they're really punishable on block. Well, they are punishable on block, as they should be, but it is still a 50-50. And if I guess wrong as Predator, I'm basically screwed for at least that round, because she ends up right beside me and can start her BS back one pressure. Now, the thing that I like to do against Tanya is on her knockdown, I want to be within range of her drill kick, but slightly out of range of her flip kick, which is about maybe here. Now, most Tanyas, especially, you know, really good Tanyas, they're not going to do a completely punishable wake up, especially at this distance, you know. But if they do, you know, if they're, you know, getting a little bit on autopilot or getting a little bit desperate to, maybe they are at a life deficit and they want to really, basically if they mess up, you know, you're just right here and you can full combo punish her. But yeah, those are my setups. Feel free to play around with it. I did test it on every character, each variation of every character, and I also tested it on each wake up for that character. But if you guys find anything different, if they tech roll, or if they delay wake up, you know, whatever it is, just feel free to let me know. Post down in the comments in the thread. And thanks guys for watching.